Female body imagery is a wide debate within the video game industry, a debate which consists of the talk of sexism towards female characters, or females in general. However, even though there is lots of talk on the way women are portrayed in video games, and how it is wrong and sexist, most individuals concentrate on the comparison between women and men, and how women are portrayed towards a male audience, as sexually arousing as well as a damsel in distress that is in need of saving. So rather than looking at it through a man's eye, let's see some of the reasons as to why these arousing attributes are so highly exploited on the bodies of female video characters. Alright, let's take a look at some of these reasons. When casually examining the natural video game landscape, it is clear that when female characters are present, they most likely conform to the ideal woman, which the media portrays. Therefore, they're 5'11" in height, 117 pounds, and curves in all the right places. It is clear that these attributes are highly unrealistic towards most females. However, this ideal woman is present as well. Within a world so virtual, it is almost realistic. Yes, sexual arousal is always a great way to attract both male and female audiences. However, studies suggest that when it comes to video games, the way the female is depicted in all aspects may not be only due to this so-called need to sexually attract audiences. Photorealism, which is the depiction of reality through virtual simulation, is a prime factor in the depiction of the female body within a virtual world. Not only does photorealism affect this, but the rating system triggers it as well. Think about it this way. What age rating displays a greater realistic world? One meant for children or one meant for an older audience? If you guessed children, you are wrong. Use your memories. Go back in time a little. Mario Bros. Equals cartoon. Zelda equals cartoon. Sonic equals cartoon. Most children-related games contain more cartoon-like figures. And then the older people games are much more realistic. So for example, when you look at Call of Duty, or Grand Theft Auto, or The Sims, or Assassin's Creed, these depictions are much more realistic than games such as Zelda and Sonic and your typical Mario Bros. By analyzing a large amount of video games, it was clear that more realistic video games portray more sexually arousing females, who have those unrealistic body measurements that are unachievable for the majority of the female population. This is because the demand and necessity for these attributes is highly on call. To some gamers, the video game world is a dream outside of their reality, in which things should satisfy the needs the reality can't. Therefore, this ideal woman is a necessity in order to succeed in giving the dream-like feel to the virtual world. Photorealism and rating pair up hand in hand, the realism pairing up with the rating of a certain game. Similar to the movie industry, age rating is quite important. The higher the rating, the more inappropriate the content may be. However, in contrast to common belief, women in ratings such as E for everyone, which is age 6 and above, women are displayed as thinner and more unrealistic than those games who are for the older and more mature audience. These virtual females are portrayed with larger hips, breasts, and overall all body proportions. Researchers suggest that this is caused by the large male to female ratio, and how the larger majority should be prioritized. The sexy woman depiction, for the lack of a better word, shows the true stereotypical sexism behind video games, and that is only when concentrating on the physical. When looking at the rest, it is more noticeable that stereotypes play a large role within video games. However, not only towards women, most males are also stereotyped against. Having super dreamy muscular bodies who are strong and independent and manly individuals. Both genders are immensely portrayed through a stereotypical lens, so stereotypical yet so necessary for the success of modern day gaming. A study also suggested that the console and type of video game may also be a factor on how the female is portrayed. Therefore, less advanced systems need to make things much larger in order for them to be seen. So for example, a woman's breast must be large so we can differentiate between the male character and the female character. However, more realistic games, you can see the body parts in more detail because it's on a much larger scale. Therefore, they require less pop out and less necessity to have the female body parts enlarged. So, as you see, Physical attributes are a great deal when it comes to video games, and they are largely important. Maybe just because it's a necessity so you can tell what's a female and what's a male, or because at the end of the day, in any kind of media, in any kind of thing that goes towards an audience, sexual arousal is very important. While many individuals concentrate on the idea of how sexism is portrayed within video games, not many see how gaming may lead to acts of sexism, rather. Many individuals, especially females, state that they are victims to sexism when playing video games, being told that some games are for boys or that they shouldn't be doing male things. Even though the world of video games has grown largely and spread towards a larger female population, the vast majority of games are still male, which causes sexism to be present within the gaming world itself. While having female versus male games, many female players state that they experience sexism while doing online gaming by being called pet names such as babe, doll, sweetie pie, or aggressive names which I will not mention, which are degrading towards women. Like most things, a gender must dominate, and that is what happens in the world of gaming. Women are stereotyped to not play certain games, and at times lie about their sex when doing online play. At times, women feel the necessity to act as a male when playing a video game because they will be discriminated against. In a survey, 35.8% of women reported having quit playing games temporarily because of sexism and harassment, whereas men rarely feel this to be a necessity. Women are increasingly more likely to experience sexism in terms of gaming than men, and more likely feel a sense of harassment when playing these games. According to the study, most gamers recognize sexism as a prominent force in the gaming community. While it is mostly directed at women, some men experience it as well. Only a minority of gamers say that they've perpetuated sexism, and a majority say that they've attempted a way to stop it. Sexism in video games doesn't only happen within the game and within the people who create it. It also happens around how you game and how you play.
The study in this article examined male and female video game characters and their sexuality. The top 20 console video games by Microsoft Xbox, Sony PlayStation 2, and Nintendo GameCube from the US market in 2003 were analyzed. Females, in comparison to male characters, were much more likely to be shown partially nude, combined with an unrealistic body image, and wearing sexually revealing clothing. Characters from 60 console games were observed based on a number of various overt sexuality variables. These include sexually revealing clothing, nudity, unrealistic body proportions, appropriateness of attire, breast size, and waist size. 4 hypotheses were tested. 1. If male and female characters were equally represented in video games. 2. If male and female characters were portrayed differently with respect to their sexuality. 3. If the Entertainment Software Review Board, ESRB rating system, adequately filtered out sexuality variables by rating. And 4. Whether or not sexual depictions of male and female characters were associated with any one particular brand of game console. ESRB regularly monitors sexual content, focusing on assessing mature humor, nudity, sexual themes, sexual violence, strong sexual content, and suggestive themes. Once video games are rated by the ESRB, they are distributed nationwide to retail outlets regardless of the content therein. The effects of portrayed female body image in the media include eating disorders, low self-esteem, body dissatisfaction, and adopting the attitude that women's bodies are projects that need to be worked on. These sexual portrayals of women have been linked to objectification, which leads some males to view women as possessions. However, females aren't the only ones affected by an unrealistic body image displayed by the media. Male gamers are subjected to portrayals of muscle-bound men, contributing to body dissatisfaction among some men. In video games, when sex is used as a reward, players assume that this type of activity is reinforced and sanctioned by society. Hypothesis number 1. Previous content analyses demonstrate that females are significantly less likely to appear in video games than are male characters. This proves that, in fact, male and female characters are not equally represented in video games. On top of this, when women are present in video games, they are more likely to be portrayed as sex objects with unrealistic body proportions and considerable amounts of exposed skin. Hypothesis 2. Significant findings were found for 5 of the 7 sexuality and objectification variables that were applicable to both males and females, including sexually revealing clothing, nudity, body proportion, appropriateness of attire, and waist size. 25% of women in this study were shown with an unrealistic body image, and 43% of women were likely to be shown partially or fully nude, compared to that of men, who were 10 times as likely at 4%. This proves that men and women were definitely portrayed differently according to their sexuality. Hypothesis 3. The study's findings demonstrated that there is a significant difference across sex among games rated everyone, teen, or mature on nudity. The additional overt sexuality variables, as defined by the study, sexually revealing clothing, body proportion, appropriateness of attire, and waist size, don't change between the differently rated games. This shows that the ESRB does adequately filter out sexuality variables by rating. Hypothesis 4. The study found that there was a significant difference for sexually revealing clothing, but not for nudity, appropriateness of attire, unrealistic body image, or small waist size by console brand. In sampled games for Nintendo GameCube, characters wearing sexually revealing clothing were more prevalent. Differences appeared when overt sexuality variables were examined across sex by console. On the Xbox console, unrealistic proportions, sexually revealing clothing, and nudity appeared proportionately greater. The study in this article used an experimental design to observe the short-term effects of exposure to sexualized female video game characters. The study investigates the effect of playing a highly sexualized video game heroine compared with a less sexualized heroine or no exposure at all. It cautiously suggests that playing the sexualized heroine negatively influences people's beliefs about women in the real world. In terms of the characterization of women in video games, content analytic research indicates that females are rarely fairly represented in popular video games and are frequently hypersexualized when depicted. Research indicates that when females do appear in video games, that they most often serve as victims or prizes, and they occupy stereotypical gender roles such as objects of sexual desire. Hypothesis A postulated that a lower self-esteem would result from playing the sexualized female character. This prediction was not supported, indicating that there were no significant differences in terms of playing the non-sexualized video game character in comparison with playing the sexualized character or no video game. Hypothesis B stated that a lower self-efficacy in women would result from playing the sexualized female character. This was supported because it was found that playing a sexualized female video game character negatively affected feelings of self-efficacy in women compared to playing no video game character. Both hypotheses suggest that exposure to sexualized images of women in video games may reduce female players' confidence in their ability to succeed in the real world. Research question 1 asked whether the sex of the participant would have any effect in predicting their gender attitudes and beliefs. Findings from this study suggest that players' gender stereotyping is affected by the level of sexualization of female video game characters. Both men and women who played the sexualized character reported differences in attitudes about women's physical capabilities. Male participants reported a more negative attitude toward women than female participants. Those who played the non-sexualized character reported differences in women's physical capabilities. Again, male participants reported a more negative attitude toward women than female participants. Research question 2 proposed that a lower self-esteem for women would be the result of playing the sexualized female character. No support was found for this prediction. It was also postulated that lower self-efficacy in women would result from playing the sexualized female character. This prediction was also not proven. In conclusion, there is definitely a hypersexualized image of women portrayed in video games. Through the use of 4 articles, we have explained the phenomena of this portrayal of women.
So, the next time you play a video game, think about how the female portrayals affect you.